You really need to immerse yourself in the local culture. The housing prices have gone up, especially in Yerevan, but I do love Armenia very, very much. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mitch. Today is the 25th of August 2022 and I'm here without Mrs. Mitch, sadly, in Sitsanakabert Park near the Yerevan Bridge, the home of the Genocide Memorial. So what I'd like to talk about today is brought about by a lot of people inquiring to me via the YouTube channel what it's like to live in Armenia, or more specifically, how difficult is it for a person from a Western country with no Armenian background to live in Armenia. Well, I guess really that depends on the individual or the family or whatever that comes here. But I would always recommend first and foremost that you do your homework, you correspond with people like me and others, preferably even Armenians who live here or have lived in Armenia. As a Westerner or a non-Armenian, it would be very difficult. For me, it's not so much because I'm married to Mrs. Mitch, and Mrs. Mitch does all of the talking for me. She's an angel. Without her, I probably would be lost here, to be honest. She knows how to get things done, who to speak to, who to trust, all those kinds of things. And if you don't speak the language, either Armenian or Russian, then you are going to have substantial difficulties, I think. It's not that it's impossible by any means, but you really do need to learn the language. For a lot of people, maybe Russian might be easier than Armenian. But if you can speak a little bit of Armenian, like I can, only a little bit, that helps. Many people have said, look, I would love to come and buy a little farm and live in a beautiful rural setting and, you know, a little hobby farm, something like that. Well, yeah, I can see the beauty of that, but you really need to immerse yourself in the local culture. In order to do that, you need to learn the language, or you need to be able to communicate in some form or another. And then you need to be able to trade. I mean, if you grow produce, for example, you have to sell it. And who are you going to sell it to if you don't know the language? If you have an online business, that's very doable. In fact, there are quite a number of digital nomads, as they are called, here in Armenia. And they seem to love it. They can go from country to country with their laptops and live perfectly fine. But to open a business as a non-Armenian, as someone who doesn't know the language, it's very difficult. So please do your homework. By all means, come and visit Armenia first. Spend at least a month here if you can. 2 weeks won't give you enough of a feel for the country. I would say at least a month. Travel around. Don't just walk around Yerevan, because Yerevan is not the center of Armenia. The real Armenia is out in the rural areas in the regions. Bank accounts. You can open a bank account, but it probably be only in Armenian drums. To open in US dollars or a foreign currency, you need to be residing here. And it's not such a simple process, I'm sorry to say. Even I had difficulty opening an account in my name, and I've been living here for 8 years. Married to Mrs. Mitch, who's Armenian. Of course, we have a joint account, or an account in her name, but to have one opened in my name, I needed to prove that I was working here. The housing prices have gone up, especially in Yerevan, owing to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. We've had a very big influx of Russian people, particularly, and also Ukrainian, coming to live here. Of course, we welcome them. As a result of that, the rental prices of apartments and houses in Yerevan went up quite substantially, maybe double what they were before. Preferably, you have to know somebody who is a local Armenian to be able to help you in those sort of things. So Mrs. Mitch and I have known and do know some people from Western countries who've come with the hope of living here in Armenia. They, for one reason or another, were quite disappointed in some aspects. There are certain problems in every sphere, I guess, of Armenia. But if you know how to navigate around them, and like I said, you know an Armenian or some Armenian people trusted who can help you navigate your way around all of these situations that you may encounter before you come, that's a good idea. But if you come without any context whatsoever, you're going to run into difficulties, which sadly some people have run into, and they've gone back after spending quite a bit of money here, I might add, which is sad because I know that they loved the country but found it was just too difficult for them. There is a problem of schooling here in Armenia. There are two dedicated English schools here in Yerevan, and they're both very expensive. There is also an international school in Dilijan. That's a international baccalaureate college, and that's expensive too, but they're all very good, I might add. If your family members, and particularly your children, only can communicate in English or another language other than Armenian or Russian, it's going to be difficult. They're going to have to find, maybe there is a French school, which one of our friends from the Seychelles actually are going to send their daughter to. That's supposed to be quite good. That's a major consideration. You have to think about that if you've got children and you want to come and live here on a permanent basis. You could teach your children online. I mean, that's doable, but I don't believe that's the best form of education because it tends to isolate children too much. You can't just come and buy land here if you're a non-Armenian. If you're not a citizen of Armenia, you can't buy land. You can, however, buy a business and operate your own business, register your business, and with land attached. So if you want to come and open a business, maybe in a rural area, open a factory, have a house attached somewhere, you could do it. You need medical insurance here if you're a non-Armenian. I guess the bottom line in all of what I'm trying to say is this, that Armenia is not a hugely developed country in terms of infrastructure. We're a little bit haphazard kind of thing, a little bit kind of all over the place. Now there are many reasons for that, and I'm not trying to come to Armenia's defense, but I do love Armenia very, very much. The processes are slowly changing. You have to remember we came out of the Soviet Union in the late 80s, 90s. Then we had many years of corruption, and it was extremely difficult for the Armenian people, and I think that it's unrealistic to expect everything here in Armenia to run as smoothly as it does in Western countries. Here's an important tip. Don't get into heated debates with government officials because you believe things should be done the way they're done in the West. That won't work. It will actually create a very difficult situation for you, and make it very difficult for you to achieve what you set out to here in Armenia. Don't be argumentative with government, council officials, things like that. Just take somebody with you who knows Armenian, who is Armenian, and get them to explain on your behalf. If you disagree about something, try to come to some kind of peaceful solution. Don't try to push your point, especially as a foreigner coming into a land which is not your own, a country which is not your own. Be realistic here. I think that's what I want to say on that subject. I'll leave it at that. So let me give you an example of maybe way that you can go about affecting change here in Armenia, change for the better. I was formerly a police officer in the South Australian Police Force. I served the majority of my time in the traffic division. As such, I have a good knowledge of road safety issues. I was taught very well in a altogether 12-week course on defensive driving techniques. But I'm not going to knock on the door of a government minister or the head of police and say, why this, why that, why don't you do this, this is terrible, your drivers are maniacs. What does that achieve? So I'm currently writing a proposal to the head of the Armenian police regarding many issues. I think altogether I've mentioned about 25, I've got about 25 points, all to do with the road safety measures here in Armenia, which I think can be changed for the better. It really all comes down to education. We have to educate the public on a way that maybe they're not been ever used to beforehand. Maybe to some degree they were in the Soviet Union, but we're not in the Soviet Union anymore. We have a new generation coming up who know nothing about the Soviet Union, and their parents drive around or drove them around, for example, in cars fitted with seatbelts, but they never wore seatbelts because they thought, well, why do we have to? Police don't pull us over for not wearing a seatbelt. They don't pull us over if we're using a mobile phone in the car. I'm talking non-hands-free, so putting the phone up to your ear, speaking, answering the phone, and even texting. They do this, so the children learn that behaviour. So we have to re-educate them. So my whole idea is to try to bring about a educational reform regarding road safety here in Armenia, and one of the ways that I can do that is by writing a proposal, not a list of demands, but just some ideas. If they adopt some of those ideas, it would be great. So that's the way that we can go about change here as a non-Armenian, and also the fact I think I've earned a little bit of respect here, not because I'm a great person, no, but because I've lived here 8 years. I know what it's like to live here. I live amongst Armenians. I'm very familiar with the culture and how they react to certain things. Things take time to change, and they have been changing, and they are changing for the better, in my opinion. So that's just something I wanted to point out. I'm trying to take some positive action. That's the way I suggest that foreigners go about trying to affect change here. First of all, you have to have lived here long enough to gain some respect and not push your way into government offices and demand this and that, and that's not the way it's done in the West, and it's terrible, you should never do it like that here, you're incompetent. Well, that's not going to win you any friends. So stop that. Any of you who are doing that at the moment, it's wrong. It's just wrong. So having said all that, friends, thanks for watching. We really appreciate all our subscribers and viewers to this channel. Stay safe. God bless you all. And until next time, bye from here.